Now, before we get started with this part 2 of Ashtakavarga, again, I'm just going to warn you quickly. A lot of negativity can come out. Lot of negativity can come out from this video. It may affect you psychologically. So I'm just warning you, if you are sensitive, if you do not want to know all the points in your particular birth chart, you may watch this video, just don't look at your Ashtakavarga score. Or even if you don't want to watch this, just don't watch this video. But just know that definitely certain negative things will be coming out, and I'll be showing certain negative things based on your Ashtakavarga score, your Binashtakavarga score, your Sarvashtakavarga score. So please don't be like, oh, man, I wish you never made this video. I don't want to find out. Well, if you feel like that, think 10 times before you put your birth information in some online portal or get a report and look at your Ashtakavarga. Perhaps you don't want to look at those things. You just want to do your work, do your karma, leave the results up to God, leave the results up to the universe, the source energy, and that's it. And the reason I'm warning you this, because I myself, when I looked at my own Ashtakavarga score, I was really depressed. I was down. I'm like, my God, this is not good. However, you also want to wait for my part 3. This is only part 2. There's going to be a part 3, which goes advanced Ashtakavarga. Okay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our part 2 of Ashtakavarga video. And Ashtakavarga, as you know, is a system that really shows how strong a certain house is in your particular chart. It's a mathematical system that shows how weak or strong a house is compared to the other houses. But why is this system used? Okay. Well, this system mainly was designed for transits, more than anything else, to judge the results of transits. So, you know, like when you hear anybody making a video or writing in an article, Saturn is going to be coming to his debilitated position in the sign of Aries. And for all the Aries ascendant people, you are going to deal with harsh health issues. You're going to have great, difficulty in your career. And your gains will be completely nil. This is not a good 2.5 years for Aries ascendant people or Aries moon people. So you read that, you get panicked, you get scared, right? What then you don't realize, or you realize actually eventually, that okay, Saturn came in my ascendant, where Saturn is considered debilitated. However, in this 2.5 years of Saturn transit, I was promoted. I actually became the freaking president of my country. And I have the maximum gains that have come to me in the 2.5 years that I have never ever seen before. Astrology does not work, it's bogus. And that's what happens. It's okay. I mean, people don't realize. People do not realize that internet in these days is like Chitragupta. Chitragupta, as you know, is the celestial accountant who keeps all the good and bad deeds, the accounts of all your good and bad deeds. Literally, I feel like the internet is a way to keep your accounts checked. All the good and bad deeds that you have done, especially nowadays, it's all online. Let's say you said something racial, okay? You said the N-word to somebody. You said the F word to somebody who you never thought you'll come across, but you came across them and they find out. They can easily find that out. Even if you delete it, it's there. It's keeping account of your good and bad deeds. So when a person writes that for Aries people, they're going to have a bad time. For Taurus people, they're going to have a bad time. When they spread negativity unknowingly, and when they do not realize that subconsciously they have affected probably hundreds of people or maybe thousands of people, that is their log oh, you affected 10,000 people because they read your article on such a negative point. And it's growing every day. Oh, it's no longer 10,000, it's now 11,000 this year. It keeps growing. This is why you have to be careful of how you present knowledge, what you say out there. It's literally, internet is like, you know, your account balance. All the deeds that you have done now, especially the children are being born now. My daughters who are born, everything they might do will be online for rest of their life, or as long as, even beyond them, as long as the system exists of internet, it'll be there. So you have to be very careful of what you say, you know, of how you affect people psychologically. Doesn't matter how good of or bad of an astrologer you are. Even if you're, let's say somebody's not an astrologer and they just write something because they just feel like, I want to attack astrology, so I'm just going to write something like this and see what happens. You don't realize you've just made the planets aware of something, and now it's wheeling in your own destiny and karma in play. This is a very complex subject. Astrology is so complex, such a fine line between the good deeds you do, the bad deeds you do. It's literally, it's an occult science. So this is where Ashtakavarga comes in. And if you read Bharat Parashara Hora Shastra, in there, the student of Parashara is saying that, look, people are going to be dumb in Kali Yuga. They're going to be really stupid in Kali Yuga. They think they're smart, they're not. They think they discovered the iPhone and you can hand touch something. That's like the lowest form of stupidity. They don't realize how much you can progress if you really have the true intelligence. So how can a person in Kali Yuga be aware of the power of astrology? That's where Parashara said, well, very good question, my son, my student. We're going to provide this Ashtakavarga system where a person who's not intelligent, like Kapiel Raaj, will be able to see that will a planet give good results or bad results in their transit, in their birth placement. So I'll create something like this because I know a sexy guy, but a dumb guy like Kapiel Raaj will be born. That's where Ashtakavarga comes in. So whenever, this is why, you know, when I started my second channel of transits, you know, like your monthly transit, I really didn't want to. It took me, what, 9 years to really talk about transits, because I thought, like, at least you get idea. When you see these patterns in your own birth chart, you get the idea of how they can react. But the true results can never be given to masses of people by one video. Because when I'm talking about, oh, Saturn is coming into Sagittarius, you're going to have great wisdom come in. You're going to bring good roots in yourself. You're going to put in the good roots. Well, for 25% people, it'll really be true. For 25% people, it'll be the completely opposite. For 25 or 50% of the people, it may or may not come true even. It'll be just very average. So when you say this is going to happen, you better be sure that this is going to happen in every single person's chart. Why? Because the transit of a planet, whether it's exalted, debilitated, Multrikon, own sign, friendly sign, enemy sign, actually doesn't mean anything. That's just a very surface level. What it really, the way it's going to give its result, it's by the number the house receive by the transiting planet. What do I mean by this? So let's say Saturn is now coming into Sagittarius within, like, what, 15 hours or 12 hours? Saturn, let's say if I'm saying, if I looked at a person's chart, I'm like, Saturn is going to be excellent for you. It rules your 8th house, okay? As a, let's say, Gemini ascendant, it rules your 8th house, but it's coming into the 10th house. Oh, your career is going to be really, really good. Why would I say that? Because it's the 8th lord in the 10th house. It can bring sudden ups and downs. Either sudden ups or sudden downs. That's what 8th house is. So how can you determine if that Saturn is going to give sudden ups? Or is it going to give sudden downs? Well, for this, you go back in your chart, in the report, in your Ashtakavarga calculations, and you see how many points has Saturn given to the 10th house. Between 0 and 8, how many points has Saturn given to the 10th house? That will be my first indication to see how that transit will play out of Saturn. And sorry, there's a jet flying over. Okay. I live right next to the military base, so wow, I must be living near the Mars line or Saturn line, man. So anyway, as I was saying, so when I see the score that Saturn has given between 0 and 8, that will show me how good or bad of this transit will be. Or average, it'll be just like okay. It's not really going to have you lose your job. Neither is going to give you any great promotions. And that becomes the first determination of how this transit is going to play out. Then the secondary thing for me is, okay, is it exalted, debilitated, friendly, own sign, enemy sign? So if it's in an average position, so 0, you have a planet can give anywhere from 0 to 8 points in a particular sign, in a particular house. And that's how you will determine the value of their good and bad results. So if Saturn has given enough force 4 average, so you know that Saturn coming into your 10th house is going to give average results. Now the secondary thing I see, is Saturn debilitated or exalted, own sign, friendly sign, Mool Trikon. So let's say if it's an enemy sign, let's say if it's in the sign of Leo and it receives 4, so I know the results, the baseline results is average. It's neither good, neither bad. But because it's in an enemy sign, it's going to, so if this is the average, Saturn's going to lean more towards the downward spiral. It's not going to be this upward spiral. Because it is average, but also in an enemy sign, it's going to lean towards the downward side. Meaning, you may not get fired in the next 2.5 years, but you will, it's like, most definitely you will have problem with authorities. You will not like dealing with rules and regulations and being micromanaged, being yelled at, being shouted at for coming in 2 minutes late in your work. All these things will start ticking you. Now, for example, if Saturn is, let's say, in a friendly sign, it's in the sign of Taurus, or it's in the sign of Gemini or Virgo, and it comes into the 10th house, and then you look at your Ashtakavarga score given by Saturn, and that becomes number 4 points in the friendly sign. So this is the average. This is the great things. This is bad results. It's right now is average. But because it's in a friendly sign, it's going to be a little bit upward motion. Meaning that next 2.5 years, Saturn will neither give you, may not give you any promotion, may not give you anything good or joy. However, you'll just be happy and content with your workspace. It'll be good. Now, you can't just judge a result of a certain event based on just one planetary transit. Because now you gotta look, is there another planet I need to see to determine an event that can happen? So let's say Saturn is in the 10th house in Leo, average results. But then I also want to see where is the 10th Lord transiting, which is Sun. So Sun is transiting in the 3rd house, let's say. Okay, Sun is transiting in the sign of Capricorn. And Sun there gets 8 points. Sun itself is saying that I'm giving 8 points in the 3rd house. So Saturn comes into the 10th house, average score, enemy sign Leo. Sun comes into the sign of Capricorn, enemy sign, but 8 points. Well, for those 30 days that Sun is in that sign of Capricorn with 8 points, those 30 days could be magnificent for you. Your communication, your short travels will be excellent. Those 30 days, you can actually get a promotion because look, we saw that, okay, Saturn is average. It's neither good, neither bad, but yeah, because it's an enemy sign, it's just going to make you not like your workspace. But because the 10th Lord itself came in for 30 days in the sign of Capricorn, even though it's an enemy sign, but gives 10 points or 8 points, it's going to be an excellent time period. So, for example, I remember my, but actually, before we even get started with this, if you do not know what score planets are giving in your particular chart in Ashtakavarga, and remember, certain softwares will give different points. And that's what drove me crazy too back in the days. I'm like, this software is giving me this point, this software is giving me that point, so which one is right? And then some people will say, well, it's only 1 or 2 points difference. It doesn't matter. Oh no, it matters. If you have read the book of B.V. Raman of Ashtakavarga, you'll know 1 point will matter. Because if Mars is transiting in the 4th house with 4 points, it has a different meaning versus Mars transiting in the 4th house with 3 points. 4 and 3 points can actually determine whether you can lose that property or you will sustain that property. This is why 1 point makes a difference. But obviously you have to remember, for each planet, what they mean in each point. 0 points means something. It doesn't mean bad results or no results. It has a specific thing. Like if, let's say, I remember reading his book that Mars coming in a 3 points in the 2nd house, if they have someone has an agricultural land, the land will be barren or the land will be lost or something. Versus 2 points, you will have like snakes coming in the land, or you will have something, other things happening in the land. So let's say Mars is coming in the 6th house and it's receiving 2 points. Becomes a very negative Mars in the 6th house. But at 2 points, it may show that yes, this Mars is creating a yoga for some accident, some health issue. Well, at 3 points, it may give you a car accident. At 2 points, you may be poisoned. This is the difference. So if you do not know your Ashtakavarga points, for that, check out the links here. Check out my website, astrologycares.com, where you can find the report on option 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 onwards. And this is something that I have also, learned from my Ashtakavarga guru, Mark Boney, about specifically, he gave a great example, Mark Boney, in our course about Al Gore. Al Gore has a okay, what was it? Al Gore, every time he won something, anytime he won an election, he won a Senate seat, he won some big business deal, his sun was transiting in the 10th house in the sign of Libra, where it's debilitated. So if, let's say, I'm judging and I'm making like this horoscope video for Capricorn ascendant people, okay, and I'm saying for all the Capricorn ascendant people, sun is going to be in your sign of Libra. You're going to have low confidence. You're going to have problem with bosses, problem with your work, problem with this and that. So Al Gore is listening to me. And Al Gore's like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to win this election. Oh man, no. What do I do? Maybe I should back out of the election before I lose. But what Al Gore did not know, that sun originally for his 10th house was giving 8 points. Maximum 8 points. That means a debilitated planet transiting the 10th house with 8 points is actually the most excellent position for the sun. And he won all of his elections, all of his things when Sun was transiting the sign of Libra in the 10th house. Even the 2000 election, where he actually won by the count, not by the electoral vote, by counts of the votes, he won. So this is why it's so important. So when you judge a transit, don't just look at a planet is exalted and debilitated and try to scare someone. Oh, Saturn is coming into the 10th house in a debilitated sign. You need to be careful with your work and not do this. Don't take chances. Don't do that. While Sun or Saturn is getting 7 points in the sign of Aries. It is going to give excellent results in there. 8 points, excellent results. Sure, if it's giving 4 or below, that's where I'm going to be careful of what I say to this person. I'm like, look, don't try to, in this 2.5 years, if let's say Saturn is receiving 2 points in the 10th house, I'll be more careful. I'm like, look, don't take too many risks or chances. Don't try to just change your job suddenly and go somewhere else. Because try to sustain that workspace for 2.5 years. Because no matter where you go, if the timing is not right, you'll still feel that same pressure and stress. So now what I want to do is first I want to show you this thing known as a Ashtakavarga, meaning these individual points that each planet gives in your particular birth chart. So we'll go to my office and then we'll look at it. The other thing that I want to go over quickly before we go into my lab again is, you know, when you run through a dasha, mahadasha of a planet, which is a time cycle in Vedic astrology that everybody's running through, that is controlled by a certain planet. So you may be running through a 16-year period of Jupiter. You might be running a 19-year period of Saturn. You might be running a 20-year period of Venus or 7-year period of Ketu. When you running a planetary cycle of a planet, and let's say a planet rules 2 signs. Let's say Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces. Look at which sign has more accumulated points, known as Ashtakavarga. So if Sagittarius rules your 11th house, has 42 points. Pisces, who rules your 6th house, has 22 points. In that particular dasha of the planet, 80% of the results will be of the 11th house versus the 6th house. So that is one of the easy way to also see when you're reading your own dasha or somebody else's dasha, and you know exactly what the dasha is going to do. But just as like a cherry on top, if the 12th house sign of that planet has given them 39 points, okay, while the 3rd house sign may have given them 25 points, 20 points. Well, you can also say that in this period, you are going to be dealing with a lot of foreign things, traveling to foreign lands, and wanting to be in isolation. So that's one of the ways you can also determine the results of the dasha. So welcome to my lab, to my office. And I know the camera is this way instead of this way, because if I put it this way, this webcam like floods everything here in my room and my face, so you can't see anything. So we're gonna go and look at through my software and understand first of all what is Ashtakavarga, and then we're gonna look at Ashtakavarga. Ashtakavarga are individual points given by planets in your chart, and this also includes ascendant in Ashtakavarga scheme. Okay, so ascendant, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So 8 bodies give individual points to each house. So let's try to understand that, and then we'll understand that transit scheme that I was talking about. Okay, so let me share the screen. So again, we have the horoscope of Rajiv Gandhi. You know, he's passed away. So, you know, this is why I'm using his chart. And he's a great teacher. He's a great guru for all of us, because he's teaching us Ashtakavarga. He's teaching us about
life. So it's not just a horoscope of some prime minister. It is a chart of a person who's now becoming our teacher. So if we go to Ashtakavarga, so you see these individual points. Sun is giving his first house 1 point. Moon is giving his first house 4 points. Mars is giving his first house 1 point. Mercury is giving 3 points. Jupiter is giving 5 points. Venus is giving 5 points. Saturn is giving 4 points. Ascendant itself is giving 4 points. Now, and this is when he was born. So when we are looking at his birth chart, we are putting his time of birth, date of birth, place of birth, and we look whenever he was born, all these planets gave these permanent points to his first house. If I was to add all these points up from the 7 bodies, not the ascendant, just the bodies, the planetary bodies, that score will equal to 23. Okay? That score will equal to 23. So that means the Samadhya Ashtakavarga, Sarva Ashtakavarga, the total accumulation given by the 7 planets is 23. Same thing with all the houses that you see here. Okay? So if we go back, Sun gives his second house 3 points. Moon gives his second house 0 points. Mars 2 points. Mercury 5 points. Okay, Jupiter 7 points. Venus 4 points. Saturn 1 point. So if you accumulate all the numbers in the second house, that would be equal to 22. Okay, so if you remember from the part 1, 28 becomes the average. Okay, 28 and above, like 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 40, 50. Like if you look at it in his chart again, last time when I showed 42 point, it's wrong. He actually gets 50 points in his 11th house. 50 points. So his 11th house of recognition, achievements, awards becomes extremely strong. And 10th house receives less points than 11th house, so which shows that little bit of labor will give him lots of achievements. But because the 12th house also drops literally, 17 points, there's a sudden drop here as well, which means that he's not just going to retire. He's not going to, just live out his term. No, there's going to be something dramatic that will happen that will end that achievement, which happened through assassination. In other people's chart, it could be sudden firing from their work. So this is known as Manduk Ashtakavarga, according to me. I call it Manduk. The frog's leap. The frog leaped from the 10th house of 31 points, boom, to a sudden success. And then frog again leaped from 11th house of achievements, boom, to downwards of 23. And especially if you look, when I was talking about his mother, when his mother died, Indira Gandhi was one of the prime ministers of India. Rajiv Gandhi was his son. So mother is in this is the second house, okay? And this is known as a Marka house, death inflicting house. And mother has given him the 11 or 7 points into his career and achievements, extraordinary achievements. Okay, so here's the thing. Through the death of the mother, okay, so mother's house is the 4th house. Which house represents the death of the mother? Remember when I did the house, understanding the 4th house? The death of the mother is the 8th house. When the mother dies for this person, they will suddenly have great achievements in their career and in their workspace. Fame and career will take off after the death of the mother, because mother is giving him so many high points. Okay, same thing can be seen, will be seen through father. Well, let me see here. No. 7, 6, 7, 8. So death of the father. So this is the house of the father for Rajiv Gandhi. whenever the father dies, there would be some problem within the home, some issue within the home for him. Why? Because Sun is giving very little points, which becomes a negative aspect for Sun. So now if you're looking at the transit scheme, okay? Remember when I was saying that a planet, whenever it transits exaltation point, Mool Trikon, its own sign, it's a great thing, right? Through our transit video that we watch online, it's a great thing, right? Sun's gonna make you feel confident in everything. But look at here with Rajiv Gandhi, 1 point. So whenever Sun transits the ascendant, it is actually not doing anything for him. Even though it's in its own sign, it wants to do good, but it's not capable of doing anything good because it's only receiving 1 point out of the 8. But when Sun transits its debilitation point of Libra, this is the sign of Libra, his 3rd house. Whenever Sun transits the 3rd house, it actually does far better than when it's transiting the sign of Leo for Rajiv Gandhi. And it's not as negative, it's average. He's receiving average points 4. Maximum is 8, minimum is 0. And when Sun transits his 11th house in Gemini, it gives 7 points. It is extremely good for him. So the month of May and June, or I'm sorry, June and July for Rajiv Gandhi would be great months for him. So same thing you can see with Moon. When Moon transits the 2nd house and gives 0 points, it is not the greatest 2.5 days regarding his money and savings. When Moon transits his 3rd house, 7th house, 10th house, 11th house, these are the great days. These are like the 12 days where 12, 13 days where he will do very well in terms of his career, achievements, marriage, and communication. If we go to his Saturn, Saturn gives 1 point in the sign of Virgo. So when I was telling you that it's a friendly sign, Saturn comes into the 2nd house for a Leo person in the sign of Virgo. Well, it's a friendly sign. It's in the 2nd house of wealth. Okay, so should be doing okay, right? Okay, but no, Saturn is actually going to bring more debts and issues within the marriage because it's transiting its lowest point where it will give negative results. And also this is something you should see, when Saturn is giving more points to the 6th house, less points to the 11th house, Saturn will dominate the 6th house matter. Things related to the 6th house will become very dominant for him. And at the same time, we want to go into Ashtakavarga. In Ashtakavarga, Saturn also gives more point to the 6th house than the 7th house. That means when Saturn Mahadasha starts, it'll give more things related to the 6th house versus the 7th house. Okay, but now if we look at the reverse for Saturn, if let's say 7th house is giving more points here, less points here, that means he will have good results related to the 7th house in his personal life versus dealing with his debts and competition and daily work routines. But if we go to the Samudaya Ashtakavarga, and let's say we still kept the same, more power to the 6th house, then less power to the 7th house, then overall, Saturn will mostly dominate the 6th house matter, according to the Dasha scheme. So the individual points matter, but the accumulated points matter even more in the Dasha scheme. This is known as the individual Binashtakavarga and Sarvashtakavarga. So if you want to know how your transit of Venus is, if you're looking for relationships or wanting to get married, we'll see which sign Venus gives the maximum points. So in Rajiv Gandhi's chart, Venus gives maximum point to the sign of Pisces, Aries, and Gemini. These would be the time periods where Venus would be fully active and giving great results. Versus if Venus was to transit his 7th house, 10th house, 3rd house, 12th house. These would be the weakest position, especially the 7th house. As much as Venus is in its own sign of Taurus, should be great, right? But no, Venus is only giving 2 points below average. It's not going to be the greatest time period to deal with anything related to marriage, love, and romance in his life. So this becomes the understanding of Ashtakavarga. So next time when you want to judge how my Jupiter is in the sign of Libra, that is transiting, how my Saturn is in Sagittarius, look at your Ashtakavarga and look at the overall house strength through Samudya Ashtakavarga, all the accumulated points of the planets. How much help is this house getting from all the other planets? So when Saturn transits through it, it'll have strength. So even though, let's say Saturn receives 1 point in the second house, but the sign or the second house itself accumulates 42 points. That means Saturn will still have support of other planets to not give you dramatic results. But if, let's say, Saturn gives you 1 point in the second house, and you have below 28 points, especially like 22, 24, 23, 20, then it becomes like a cake and a cherry on a cake to really show that, okay, negative things are going to be taking place in this scenario. So you have to look at the individual points that it gets, okay, and then you look at the accumulated. It kind of like accumulated points, the higher they are, that's like the cherry on top of the cake for an individual planetary transit. Now let's talk about Kakshya Slot.
Now let's discuss something known as the binary system of astrology. What do I mean by binary system? You know how in a computer language, all that your softwares, your smartphone, your internet application, your Photoshop application, whatever you use in your daily work routine, including your accounting softwares, IT softwares, it's nothing but 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, on, off, on, and these commands trigger certain things. These commands bring about something. So like, let's say 100,000 lines of 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 makes the eye of the photograph that you took. That 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 is just making that eye. And then 1 million, 2 million of them will make your entire face. So this video that you're watching, me moving, me interacting with you, right now I'm in a digital form with 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. Ashtakavarga works the same way. A planet, so let's say, like I showed you, Saturn giving, let's say, 3 points in a particular, let's say Saturn is giving 2 points in a particular house. 10th house, Saturn is giving 2 points. Okay? Saturn is in the sign of Libra, exalted. So even though it's in a higher state, it will not give any results, any good results for specifically you, because you have this in your 10th house given by Saturn. And when it's at 2 points, it's going to do something perhaps negative, let's assume. Okay, it's going to do something negative. How do I know? If I'm trying to determine when exactly Saturn is going to give me that negative results, because it's giving me 2 points out of the 8, right? So just imagine 8 points are switches. This is a switch, this is a switch, this is a switch, 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 switch. Out of the 8 points, okay, Saturn is only open for, has an on button for 2. That's it. So out of the 8, Saturn is only being turned on twice. That means the rest of the 6 points, Saturn is sleeping. It's not doing anything. It's sleeping. I don't care if it's debilitated, exalted, Multrikon, in its own sign, it's sleeping. But let's say it started in the sign of Aries in the month of January, okay? Month of January, Saturn came in to the sign of Aries. However, the 2 points that Saturn has given are the on signals that, okay, I'm going to be awake. Whether I give good or bad results, I'm going to be awake these 2 times. So then you see that, okay, the 2 times that is awake, it's in the month of August in that one particular year. And then he's turned on the next February. Those are the 2 places Saturn is turned on. So if a negative or positive result is to come out of Saturn's giving 2 points to you in the 10th house, those will be the only time that Saturn will give any results. Otherwise, it's not going to give any results. It's going to be turned off. It's going to be sleeping. You're just like, you're trying to move Saturn. Saturn, you're exalted in my 10th house. God damn it, wake up, give me some promotion, give me something. Because I watched the video of Kapiel on his YouTube channel that Saturn is in the 10th house, exalted will be great for a Capricorn ascendant person. What's going on? Okay, let me just write to Kapiel. You told me Saturn is coming into my 10th house and I'm going to find promotion and this and that. Nothing is happening. Although with 2 points, it's not the most positive points. But still, let's say you wrote that to me. Why are you writing that to me? Because I was simply just making a video of Saturn being exalted in the 10th house. However, if I was making an individual video for you, who's emailing me saying that your video was wrong, I won't be giving that video in the same manner. I'll be like, okay, so for Mr. XYZ, your Saturn is going to be coming into the 10th house, but it only has 2 points. So Saturn, if it's going to give results, it's not going to have only two places it's going to give any results. And that would be the month of August and next February. And it's not going to be the greatest. It's just going to be very average results. So even though it's exalted, it's not, this is the average, right? 4, it's at 7. So it's going upwards. It's trying to really help you. But because it's only receives 2 points, it comes down like this. That signal, the barometer, it's exalted. Wow, 10th house. But because it only is awakened twice, the barometer comes down right there. So you're just going to have average results. Maybe somebody will praise you in the email in the company. Oh, Mr. XYZ did this project. Amazing, awesome. Thank you very much. You completed our project. Next February, same thing happens, or perhaps you get some small bonus check for your thing. But let's say Saturn is exalted in your 10th house. Gets 8 points or 7 points. Okay? It's up. Boom. What's happening for the next 2.5 years? You'll get a new job offer, paying twice as much. You will get a promotion, giving you 30% more than your salary. Suddenly, you find fame. Let's say they take your interview for some news channel and you give the most amazing explanation for that 30 seconds or 40 seconds, and suddenly everybody's talking about, oh my God, this guy was so amazing. Wow. Why? Because that positive fame came in for you. And this is why when you look at the points in the birth chart, that somebody's 10th house lord is receiving only 1 point, 0 points, 2 points. 10th lord, not the 10th house, 10th lord is receiving 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. What they should also know is that if you want to become an actor and you want to get a lot of fame, sure, you may get a fame, but that fame might be infamous. That fame may not be the most positive thing you would want. So as soon as somebody's fame starts, things decline for them. But for some people, when the fame comes in, things go up. But this is just one factor I'm showing you. So now don't go into your Ashtakavarga score and start looking, oh, I have 7 points with Saturn. Okay, my fame is going to come in. No, Ashtakavarga is the last thing you want to look at. First, you want to see what Dasha is going through. No, actually forget that. First, you want to see, do you have the yoga for fame? Number 1, mass fame. Like Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Tom Cruise, whatever. Michael Jordan. Number 2, when is the timing for that fame? Okay, the timing is going to be when I'm 42 years old. Okay, fine. Number 3, are the transit that the 10th Lord transit or planet in the 10th house or the first house of fame, how many points are they receiving? Oh, they're receiving 7 or 8 points. Universe signs off that at this point you will get fame. If a planet is receiving 2 points, 1 point, 0 points, fame, but not too much, small fame. So remember, Ashtakavarga, you can't make a final decision just by going straight to Ashtakavarga. Ashtakavarga simply is a signature that guarantees something. Sometimes when the score is low, it's no longer guaranteed. So the universe says, maybe or may not be. But if it's higher score, okay, guaranteed fame, guaranteed money, guaranteed this. So if let's say you have a Dhan Yoga, you look at the timing of the Dhan Yoga, I'm supposed to receive the Dhan Yoga, and then the planet that is supposed to trigger the Dhan Yoga, if it's receiving weak points during its transiting point, the Dhan Yoga is not going to come like this. Woo! Money is going to come like this. Slowly, 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 slowly. And if it's a temporary Dhan Yoga, then it comes back down. So if let's say you're going to a perfect dasha of your Dhan Yoga, meaning yoga for wealth and money, and at the same time you're going through the dasha of the Indu Lagna, the planet that controls your Indu Lagna, yet in Ashtakavarga is just weak. So if you're supposed to get $1 million in that time, with that position of exaltation and the dasha coming and everything, but Ashtakavarga is like 2 or 1, it's just going to be like this. It's going to be right there. So the barometer of success, the barometer of failure is seen through other things first and then Ashtakavarga last. But at least you get, has the universe given me signature here or not? Now let's talk about something good, which is, well, it's not good or bad. It's just, let's talk about how do you determine where is that particular point when Saturn is turned on and off, Moon is turned on and off, Jupiter is turned on and off. For this is, we try to understand Kakshya Slot.
So Kakshya Slot, as I was saying, is a binary system that shows on and off, on and off, and on and off. Okay. So let's go back to my share screen. And let's look at Rajiv Gandhi's chart, and let's look at his Saturn. Whenever for this individual, whether it's Rajiv Gandhi or someone else, born at the same day and the same time, same place, Saturn only gives 1 point. Okay, 1 point. That means Saturn is only going to be active only once out of the 8 chances it gets in the scheme of 2.5 years. But how do you find out when exactly it's going to be turned on? For this, you look at Kakshya Slot. Go right here, right next to, in your report, you will see this section known as Kakshya Slot. And this scheme of Kakshya never changes. Saturn comes first, Jupiter comes second, Mars comes third, then Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Lagna, ascendant. Why? We go from the slowest planet to the quickest moving body, which is known as Kakshya Slot. Okay. So Saturn is in the sign of Virgo. So you find the Virgo sign in the Kakshya scheme. These are zodiac signs. Okay. Starts from Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Virgo is the 6th zodiac sign of the zodiac belt. So Saturn, you look at 6 and look where Saturn is off. It's off, 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 on, off, 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 off. It is off 90% of this entire 2.5 year transit for Rajiv Gandhi. The only where it is on is the Kakshya of the sun. It's turned on. And You also want to make sure if this Kakshaya is friendly or an enemy to the transiting planet. Sun is a bitter enemy of Saturn. Saturn is a bitter enemy of the Sun, while at the same time it is turned on. So that means because Saturn received 1 point in the second house of money wealth, it's already negative. Then Saturn's Kakshaya, where it's turned on, it's another enemy, Kakshaya, which is a slot of the Sun. So when Sun is transiting at a certain point, when it's at this Kakshaya, it'll be giving negative results, not only because it's 1 point, but it's in the 1 point of the enemy. Now, how do you determine whether, when is it that is going to be turned on? Where are these off points? Okay. So for this, you have to understand the days that a planet will spend at a certain degree. And especially for this, we will look at this particular thing. Okay, so you have to remember the duration of time that each planet spends in one Kakshaya. So Saturn will spend 70 days. When it enters any zodiac sign, the first 70 days, or 3.41 degrees, is known as the first Kakshaya for Saturn. So blocks of 70 days, 70, 70, 70, 70. So it moves out of the 30 degrees. See, zodiac sign is 30 degrees. 3.41 degrees of that 30 degree section is known as the first Kakshaya, second Kakshaya, third Kakshaya, fourth Kakshaya, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Okay, so that will equal to 30 degrees. So Saturn spends 70 days. So if, let's say, for Rajiv Gandhi, Sun is under the fourth Kakshaya, the fourth slot, that means 70, 70, 70, 70. So when Saturn is at the fourth 70th day, that's when Saturn is going to give its effect, the negative effect that it was supposed to give. That's when it'll give. So that'll be the 280th day. So starting from the 280th day of Saturn transit into Virgo, for 70 days from that point will be that turning on point of Saturn. So I'm like, okay, I'm alive, I'm awake. My alarm clock just went on. Oh, I have 1 point and I'm in the second house of money, wealth, family, and fame. All right. Sorry, Rajiv, I've got to give you my results. I apologize. This is the delivered package that you gave me in your fourth previous life. And so I have to deliver this because that's my job. Here you go. Loss of money and loss of reputation. All right, 70 days off. All right, I'm going back to sleep. See you in the next zodiac sign. That is the scheme of Kakshaya. So let's look at the dates. So Saturn spends 70 days. Jupiter spends 45 days in each Kakshaya slot. Mars will spend 7.1 days in each Kakshaya slot. Sun will spend 3.8 days. Venus 2.3 days. Mercury 22 hours. And the ascendant or moon was 6.8 hours. And the ascendant, I believe the ascendant spends less than like, I think, 20 minutes or so. It's in minutes, literally. But we don't care about the ascendant as much. We only care about the 7 bodies. The 7 bodies are the main thing that are known as the Kakshaya slot. So ascendant was not even counted in that scheme. So let's go back to our chart here. So if we look at the Kakshaya of Saturn, So when Saturn enters the sign of Gemini for Rajiv Gandhi, it has 7 points. Beautiful, beautiful transit of Saturn in the 11th house, in the friendly sign of Gemini. So what we looked first, if you look, Saturn is in a friendly sign of Gemini. It's in a very good house, 11th house, Upachya house, which grows better with time and is the original home of Saturn. And in there it receives 7 points. Beautiful transit of Saturn. So anything issue related to the 7th house of marriage, 6th house of debts, enemies, health, daily work routines will do very well for those 2.5 years for Rajiv Gandhi. Now, how does this 7 number comes about? Well, let's go to the sign of Gemini. Here's the sign of Gemini for Saturn. This is Saturn, sign of Gemini. It's turned off only once. For the first 70 days, when Saturn enters the sign of Gemini for Rajiv Gandhi, is turned off. But it's turned on for rest of the time. It's awakened. It's up. It's feeling beautiful, great, I'm happy. But in this particular scheme as well, whenever Saturn goes through the Kakshaya of the Sun and Kakshaya of the Moon, Saturn is not really going to be that much happy. It's not going to be the best time to get that positive result. It'll be good results. So if Saturn is turned on as A+ for that sign of Gemini for Rajiv Gandhi, during the Kakshaya of the Sun and Moon, it might be C+, C. It won't be F because it is positive, but it'll be C. So this is how we also judge. Is it friendly or enemy to the Kakshaya slot? And so all the Kakshaya are going to be the same. Saturn comes first, ascendant comes last. Saturn first, ascendant last. So if you look, for him, the Moon Kakshaya in the sign of Virgo. So if we go to the Moon and we go to the sign of Virgo, this is Moon, sign of Virgo, Moon is pretty much turned off. For 2.5 days, Moon will not do anything. And it actually, the 0 points becomes very negative for those 2.5 days. If he was to make any financial deals, they'll just go, in terms of family and money, anything related to them. Doing it when Moon transits the sign of Virgo for Rajiv Gandhi, it's not the greatest idea for him to do. So this is the scheme of Ashtakavarga in terms of transit. So when we judge transit, make sure you know your Kakshaya before you believe me or somebody else who's saying Saturn is coming in its own sign of Aquarius or Capricorn. Oh, great, excellent. How excellent? Well, look at the Kakshaya slot. So, sorry, I have to add this in my video because when I was editing my video in the afternoon, and I'm like, I forgot this one thing. Even though I showed you about the Kakshaya slot, and I told you that Saturn transits, 70 days, Jupiter transits 45 days. Exactly when can you see that, okay, my Saturn has entered, the first Kakshaya or third Kakshaya? And this is true for pretty much any planet, every planet. So any planet in the first 3.45 degrees of a zodiac sign will be in the Kakshaya of Saturn. Then 3.45 to 7.30 degrees of a zodiac sign is Jupiter Kakshaya slot. 7.30 to 11.15 is Mars Kakshaya slot. From 11:15 to 15th degree is Sun Kakshaya slot. 15th degree to 18.75 is Venus Kakshaya slot. 18.45 degrees to 22.20 degrees is Mercury Kakshaya slot. From 22.20 degrees to 26.15 degrees of Moon Kakshaya slot. And then from 26.15 degrees to 30 degrees is the Kakshaya of the Ascendant. And what do you see with the Ascendant? Well, is the Ascendant friendly to your Ascendant or not? So let's say, for example, you are a Leo Ascendant, okay? And you're looking at Saturn transits. Well, you all automatically know the last to 26.15 degrees of a zodiac sign to 30th degree, Saturn is going to be in the enemy Kakshaya. So this is how you understand this. So this way you can see that degree-wise, if a planet is at 15th degree, it's going to be in a certain Kakshaya versus from, like it's, let me go back to that chart that I have. So let's say from Sun entered 15th degree or 12 degrees. Sun is transiting at 12 degree of a zodiac sign. It's going to be in its own Kakshaya of the Sun. From 15th degree all the way to 18.45 degrees of any zodiac sign is going to be the Kakshaya of Venus. This you can use for every sign and any planet. Okay, so just wanted to add that as well.
So I hope you have learned the part 2 of Ashtakavarga and understood why transits cannot be judged when you watch some video online or read some article. An astrologer has to look at your transit individually to show that. Now, one thing I will say, please don't come to me and say I have 0 points here and what's going to happen. I will not say anything negative. I will just say positive. Oh, everything will be fine. I don't say anything negative. So if you are looking for some negative results, the truth, as you call it, please go to somebody else. Don't come to me. I will not do it at all. Okay? So I will see you next time with part 3 next week. In the meantime, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Ashtakavarga score is, all the consultation, my nakshatra readings, dasha readings, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.